Your daydreams are not just these flimsy fantasies, they're actually a subconscious response to your unmet needs and unhealed wounds. And understanding this is so powerful. It's going to take your self-awareness to the next level, just like it did to me when I learned about this 4 years ago. So stick with me, I'm going to unpack all of this in this video and it's all soon going to make a lot of sense. So I'm someone who has daydreamed a lot, and for a long time I thought it was just like a normal human behavior, and to some extent it is. But I didn't realize how my daydreams were actually really dysfunctional and they were really disconnecting me from the present moment, and that they actually had a message for me. So 4 years ago I fell on this video that was talking about limerence, and limerence is more when you have an obsession over a person or a relationship. In this video I'm really talking about it more general, like daydreaming, having a fantasy. It can be over someone, but it can also just be over a specific event. And in this video she was talking about how limerence is just you projecting yourself in a moment where your needs are met that are not currently met now. And it made so much sense, and I was like, why didn't I think of this earlier? And since then I've been using my daydreams to really explore more of like those hidden, repressed parts of myself, to really bring my self-awareness and my healing to the next level. And it really has been a super powerful tool. So this is why I'm sharing this to you today, just so that you can add this to your toolbox. So in this video I'll explain to you the relation between daydreams, unmet needs, and unhealed wounds, and you're going to be able to paint a picture of how it's all connected and how to actually do the exploration within yourself. And also at the end of this video I'll give you a list of questions that you can ask yourself, reflect on, and even journal about. That's going to really help you to do this work. So what is daydreaming? Daydreaming is about projecting yourself into a future event that is most likely desired, where you feel good. So it evokes a sensation of feeling good, of feeling at ease. And there's like different types of daydreaming. Daydreaming altogether is not necessarily bad. Like there's a healthy dosage of daydreaming, and this is more when you think about something you want and you're projecting yourself into a moment where you achieved a certain goal, and then you bring yourself back in this present moment and you work on that goal. It's more like a vision board in a way. You're visualizing something you desire and then you take actions to reach that goal. It gives you inspiration, it shows you what's possible. But then there's the like obsessive daydreaming, and that one is the opposite. It more like distracts you from this present moment. It dissociates you from what's here now, and it's a way to avoid feeling the discomfort of what you don't have right now. It's actually something that you're using to not take action now, to not do the work now, and to not address what is here now. So you're using this as a form of escape, of avoidance, just as you would use another type of addiction. So daydreaming is actually, like obsessive daydreaming is actually an addiction. It's a form of addiction. And to heal an addiction, you have to face what you are running from. This is really where it's at. Now, I said that daydreaming really highlights what your unmet needs are, so let's talk about this a bit more. So first of all, there's a really close relation to your unmet needs and to your unhealed wounds. So an unhealed wound is coming from an emotional trauma, and if you want to learn more about like how trauma forms in childhood, I did do a video about that, so I suggest you watch it. But there's an emotional trauma, okay? So let's say you get abandoned, and from that abandonment there's a need that has not been met, okay? So there's a need of safety, so you feel unsafe and you need safety from this abandonment. And then what happens is that your subconscious registers all of this. It stores it and it represses it, and then you just walk around with these beliefs and these conditionings and these wounds that are never addressed, and they're like happening in the background of your life, and they're really impacting your life. So these daydreams are really like a response to these wounds that have not yet been addressed. And the thing is, there's nothing on the outside that can actually release these wounds. Like if you have a need of safety, no matter how much safety there is around you, if that is still inside of you, you're never truly gonna feel safe, because it's registered, it's stored inside of you. And so your daydreams, you're like projecting yourself in a moment where that need is met, where you feel safe. But it's just to really run away from the fact that in this present moment you do not feel safe, you do not feel loved, you do not feel valued, whatever that need is. And so it's a way to not address what's happening here and now. And that's why like these daydreams are dysfunctional if you just stay in this la la land where you have everything you want because you're just avoiding to really meet what is hindering you right now. Now, for this to make even more sense to you, I'll share you something that happened to me last year, and I even journaled about it. I had a period where I was really going into my fantasies, and I really used that to introspect and ask myself questions, and it helped me to heal my wound of rejection. Like, I spent months healing that wound, and now I'm on the other side of it, and it's really day and night. But it's thanks to these fantasies and to like exploring where I was going in my subconscious mind that it allowed me to understand what was hiding. And so just to put in context, I'm Canadian, and last year I went on a big trip. I moved to Australia, but before leaving to Australia, I kept on fantasizing about the idea of being in Australia. But then a few months after being in Australia, I started having a ton of obsessive daydreaming, and I was starting to obsess over being back in Canada. I was thinking about a specific festival I wanted to go to, and I was fantasizing about being there and being with the people I know and feeling like seen and feeling loved. And then I was also fantasizing about being to a specific event and meeting the love of my life, and also like with YouTube and stuff, that I would start a YouTube channel and then like I would be seen by millions of people, and that I would have so much subscribers and be so successful and everyone would see me. And what's interesting is that right before that I had met a guy and I dated him for a bit, and like it didn't work out, and it really woke up my wound of rejection. And I actually made a video because at first when I started this YouTube channel, I just wanted to express myself, so I was more sharing like raw footage of me doing healing work. So if that's something that interests you, you can I think it's here, but you can watch that video. But what happened is that after having that wound of rejection being like awakened in me, triggered actually, I started trying to dissociate from it, like run from it, through fantasizing about moments where I'm not rejected, where I'm seen, where I'm valued. But I was not like consciously realizing that that was what was happening. And at some point I had a hit, like, you know, just that moment of clarity where you're like, oh damn, I realized that I'm doing this. And that's where I journaled about it. And that was 14th of February 2024. We're now in November. So I wrote, I'm in limerence with future events. I glorify them. I see them as when it will finally start. So that's how I felt when I was in that fantasy land. I felt like something was burning, something was starting, like finally my life was starting. Like as if like in this present moment, there's something that I'm not getting that I want. And so I have to ask myself, what needs are feeling unmet in my current reality that I'm expecting to be met in these events? And then I wrote, there is something I'm feeling, a discomfort around the chest. I believe it's this energy block I'm running from. What feeling am I repressing? And this energy block around the chest, I had been feeling it for years. At first, I didn't have the answer to this question. I just knew there was something. I wrote it down. I waited for the answer to come. But 2 weeks later, I actually got another hit of clarity, and I was like, oh yeah. And I actually like, I put an arrow and then I wrote like, because I had my question of like, what are my unmet needs? I put an arrow to be like, nurturing, being of value, therefore having value, being loved, feeling self-actualized. So this was what I was going to get in my fantasies that I didn't feel I had now. And then on the 14th of March, so this is 1 month later, I really got to the core of it. I put another arrow and I wrote, it all comes back to the core wound of rejection. I realized that it was all coming from that. So there's a wound of rejection that I've been carrying around my whole life. And that was what I was running from. That was the pain point. And then that's where all my needs were stemming from. Like my needs of feeling loved, of feeling valued, of feeling self-actualized, all felt from not wanting to be rejected. And I even wrote on the 29th of February, so that was 2 weeks like after the initial point, I had wrote something. I'm gonna read it, not all of it. Actually, there's a huge story of unworthiness still living in my body. So the unworthiness is part of the wound. It's actually the belief I attached to the wound. So there's a wound of rejection and I attached it to I am not worthy. So I felt unworthy. So this was what I've been running from. That feeling I've been running from, this core stuckness that pushes me towards avoidance, is coming more and more to the surface and is very uncomfortable. It feels related to rejection. There's a blockage with human connection, the fear of being too needy, too much, not enough, basically being judged and discarded. Blah, 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 blah. I'm always waiting for that thing on the outside that will make me feel whole and loved. So actually, like, all my daydreams were related to that. When I am successful on YouTube and there's a bunch of people that follow me, I'm gonna be seen. I'm not gonna be rejected. I'm gonna be valued for who I truly am. It was always coming back to like feeling like I'm rejected because there's a wound around that. And even if people didn't reject me, I would perceive rejection where it wasn't necessarily there because there was a wound there. That's just the beginning. Like, you allow these fantasies to make you explore what's underneath. And when you figure out what's underneath, you can start really healing it, meeting yourself, holding space for yourself. Now, I'll give you a list of questions you can ask yourself that's gonna help you like more understanding what's happening behind the scenes. But before that, if you like this video, please give it a like. It really helps because I have a small channel and it really helps with the algorithm. Share your thoughts in the comments if you feel like it. And also share this video with a friend if you feel like they need to hear this. And now let's get to the questions. I really suggest that you write these down. You don't need to like answer them right away, but just write them down so that you can get back to them later. And also in the comments, I put a list of needs. So I put like a list of needs with the desire attached to the need and the belief that's attached to that need and the wound that's attached to that need. So if ever you need inspiration, like there could be stuff that's missing, don't rely only on that, but it can inspire you if you're trying to figure out what is the need that's not met. Just looking at this list can give you ideas. So like screenshot it, keep it in your phone or write it down, whatever, but it's in the comments. Now these are the questions you can ask yourself. Wait a minute, I'll just take them out. Okay, what am I receiving in this future event or fantasy? Do these fantasies offer me something that I don't have right now? What are the recurring themes in my daydreams? Like, what seems to come back? For me, you see, it was like, there was 3 different things, but it was all coming back to like, oh, in that moment, I feel seen, I feel valued, I feel important, you know? So what are the recurring themes? How do I feel when I think about my fantasy? So connect to the feeling, like when you're in that fantasy, I feel loved, I feel important, I feel cared for, I feel safe, I feel seen. Connect to that feeling. How do these daydreams impact my feelings about my current life? So when you're in that daydream where you feel all these nice stuff, how does it make you feel about what is here now? How does it make you feel about your current life? Like, oh, I'm not loved, I'm not seen, people are gonna reject me, I'm not good at anything, whatever. What needs are being met in my fantasy that are not being met in my current reality? So this is when you can look at the list to really inspire you. What am I avoiding or escaping when I enter these fantasies? So this is going to bring you back to that core wound. Like, take the time to notice the sensations in your body before that fantasy, or even what the trigger is. It can be an outer trigger, or it can just happen like that, but there's probably a sensation that you're running from in that moment, a discomfort you're running from. Where do I feel this discomfort in my body? Just like me, I was like, it's in the chest, there's something there. Where do I feel it? Allow yourself to feel into it, and this can help you get more to the core of it. I hope these questions help. I hope this video helped. Talk to you soon. Don't hesitate if you have any questions. I'm glad to answer.